Hey, this is Andrew Aversa, and in this video, I'm going to show you how you can create your own epic and hybrid drums without spending more money on new sample libraries, which as a sample library developer, I realize that sounds kind of funny, but I want to show you how you can sort of get around the mindset that you have to always be buying new samples in order to get awesome sounds. This technique is simple conceptually, which is basically layering a synth drum patch with acoustic drums and then doing some processing to those things using tools that you probably already have. First, I'm going to show you a custom zebra drum patch that I made. I realize this looks intimidating. I'll break it down. So here's what it sounds like. So depending on where you play, it has a slight pitched element. This is lower on the keyboard. This is higher. You can play multiple notes to get a sort of a flam ensemble effect. There's no external processing here. So let me break this down a little bit. First oscillator is actually a fairly simple waveform. I'm going to take off the noise in the filter. It is a kind of simple additive waveform. You can see there's not a whole lot going on. It's stereo. There's an envelope on the tune, so it has a pitch drop rather than being a constant pitch. Then we add in some just straight white noise. Sounds pretty harsh, but when you filter it, and we look at this XMF filter, we've got an envelope on the cutoff. So the cutoff closes very, very quickly. You can see this envelope is extremely tight. We're going to come back to this concept that with a lot of drums, you want these very fast, exponentially curved envelopes that have a strong attack and then they decay to nothing very quickly. So when you put that filter on it, which again is fairly simple, you can see the settings. You get this wonderful sort of pitched rototom type effect. So then we look at the next layer. And this is sort of the low rumbly noise. Once again, we're just using a simple noise generator here. If we take off the filter, this is pink noise in this case, instead of white noise, which is a little bit more filtered. If we go to white, it's a bit more high frequency. So the first filter is an aggressive low pass filter. And you can see it's the same envelope, same exact envelope that we used in the first filter. And then we've actually got another filter, and this one is incorporating the signal from the first channel as well. So what you get is this. This one has a lot of overload, which is kind of like a distorting effect. It adds a little bit of extra grit, and it makes it sound a little bit less sterile. So now both these channels together. Okay, channel 3. There's a lot of stuff going on here. It probably doesn't need to be this complicated, honestly. This is an FM waveform. It's a quadric sine. It's modulating itself. We're using the same envelope. This could almost be like a square wave, right? It doesn't need to be an FM oscillator. I just thought this sounded cool with the high frequencies, but if you wanted to, you could just start with a simple triangle or a square wave. Very fast pitch drop. See, without the pitch drop, if we set this to none, it doesn't really have a percussive effect. You definitely want that pitch drop in there. Then it's being sent through distortion, tube distortion. The first filter is another one of these MS-20 low passes. And then finally, we have a high pass, actually. If we take off the high pass, it's a little too rumbly. And then finally, we have the fourth channel, which I can remove these elements. It's just an oscillator, another additive waveform with just some high frequency content. Similar to our first oscillator, but just a slightly different spectrum. No oscillator effects. It's got fast tune drop again. This one is starting from an even higher pitch. The first oscillator, the envelope is only going up 5 semitones. This one's going up 29 semitones. So quite a big leap. If we play these both at once, you get this sort of parallel pitch effect, which is cool. And then of course, we've got another filter. This one, it's a little bit arbitrary that I picked, LP old drive. The exact filter that you use doesn't really matter. I just like the character of the zebra filters. Just to sum this up, basically we have a few pitched oscillators at different pitches that have very rapid pitch decreases. We have very, very tight envelopes with curves. Just to show you the difference, like let's say we didn't use as much of a curve. It doesn't sound right. You need to have that fast curve. There's a few global effects. We've got an EQ, 2 EQs actually. And compression and reverb. And there we have our synth drum patch. Now, despite the number of modules in this, again, it's basically just pitched oscillators with a fast tune decrease. And then you've got some bursty pink and white noise elements to add a little bit of that sizzle. I think really the key element more than anything else is the envelopes. Okay, now let's go to our acoustic element, which is from Tokyo Scoring Drum Kits. This is the default patch for the Aizawa mix, but you don't have to use this library. You could actually pick any 3 acoustic drum samples that you have and layer them. It just so happens that this has a nice 3-layer out of the box. Now, if the library that you're using has the ability to mix, what we want to do is add a little bit more of the high end back into the kick. We don't just want the kick mics. So one way to do that, if you have bleed capability, check this out. We don't want it to just be a very low frequency kind of dead kick. We want there to be a lot of life coming through ambient mics, bleed coming through snare mics and hi-hat and tom mics. Whatever you can include into that signal is going to give it the extra character we're looking for. So basically, once you have those elements, let's play them together. We're going to start applying some effects. I'm going to use just default FL Studio effects. Whatever DAW you're using is going to have equivalents of these things. So first thing, EQ. Having a very scooped EQ is going to give you more of that heavy trailer drum kind of sound. And you can see how much low end energy there is, but maybe we want to, just take off the super, super, super low subs. Let's take off the EQ. So that's pretty good. We could also apply effects to one of these sources in particular. Like I might decide that maybe for the acoustic drums, I don't want it to have quite as much high end as it does. And then maybe for the synth drums, maybe I decide, this particular one needs to be dipped in a few places and boosted. Okay, let's hear that together now. Here's with no EQ. Okay, next up, we want some compression, ideally multiband compression, which most DAWs have. Here's our compressor, and we're gonna dial in some low-end compression first, and we're gonna make sure that we get transients coming in for some of these bands. Okay, here's what I ended up with in terms of settings. Here's with no compression. Personally, I like this sound a little bit more. I feel like this is going to fit into a mix a little bit better. Without the compressor, the rumble can get a little bit out of control. Now, if you want to have some fun with it, we could take a different approach. We could use the free OTT plugin, and we could play with this. Obviously, a little bit extreme. One thing I'm going to do is let's turn the depth way down, and let's adjust the balance here. So the threshold on the high. So that sounds pretty cool. We can turn the depth down a little bit more though, maybe just a tiny bit, and less downward compression, more upward. It's a little bit more art than science, right? How about both compressors? Let's see what that sounds like. Okay, and one thing I should note is that because of the way I set up the synth drums here, we're not getting the full range of pitches that we can do. So one thing we could do is we could actually render this and then start applying different effects once it's rendered. Or maybe let's say we just want to render the acoustic element. We could try that. So now that we have the rendered version in our project, we can apply an envelope to this as well and run it through the same effects. We could also bake in additional effects, like if we wanted to just throw on some more reverb and have that running through our super compression setup. Now keep in mind, that is just the rendered acoustic element. We still have the synth element. Let's play in a pattern, right? I'm going to just quantize this since I'm not really a great player. Maybe not 100% quantize. Anyway, what we can do here is I'm going to take this note data, and because I don't want it to be repitched when I play it through here to the acoustic sample, I'm going to set everything just to the root pitch of the sample. Instead of doing the envelope here, if we're doing it through FL's sampler channel, this is where I would do the envelope. So it's the same envelope process, but we're just doing it in a different place. So if we wanted to have that same style of envelope, this is how we might do it. And by the way, if we wanted to make this even more dynamic and have it respond to velocity, what we could do, for example, is we could add velocity tracking to the synth patch. We could add velocity automation to the acoustic patch, but I think you're starting to get the idea. And finally, just for fun, let's see what FL's sound goodizer sounds like on this. This is sort of like an extreme one preset multiband. So if you do something like this, or you use an effect like this, you probably want to do extra EQ after it. I think that's pretty cool. Remember what we're coming from. If we turn off all the effects and we have just the zebra patch, that's our zebra patch. And then this is our acoustic patch. So we're going from that to this. Hopefully that gives you some inspiration to create your own epic drums using the tools you already have. Save yourself some money. If you enjoy this kind of content, definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. All right, I'll see you in the next one.